What's the difference between you and your hero? Now, I don't know who your hero is, but if we just maybe use, for example, maybe somebody like Stephen King. Say, for example, you are a new writer and you would like to be in the same position where Stephen King is. You'd like people making movies out of your books and all that. And for you to look at where you are to where he is, that is a huge gap, and it's a gap that you can't ever see yourself closing. Now, if you've been listening to any of the recent podcast episodes, I have cleared up some of those talent myths, and I have given you some advice on closing that gap between where you are and where that person is. So if you haven't heard them, go back a few episodes and listen to those. Now, you can say maybe that Stephen King had a few lucky breaks. You can say maybe that he had some connections and he had this and then he had that. And while you mightn't have the same luck as he had, you mightn't meet the same people unless you had a time machine and you could go back at the same time as him and you could shadow along with him to get the same results he has. You're not going to get any of those chances. So what is the thing you can do? Well, the thing you can do is copy his actions. I'm sure that where he is compared to what you are, his actions are probably a lot different than yours. Now, at this stage of his life, he might be winding down a little bit. He mightn't be writing as much as he used to, or maybe he's writing even twice as much. I'm not too sure. I don't really follow him, but your hero is probably where he is or she is because of the actions that they are taking, and those actions are probably ones that you can copy. And you probably aren't getting even close to where that other person is because you're not taking on those actions. You're not showing up regularly. You're not writing content on a regular basis. You're not reaching out to your audience. You are not just putting the work in, and because you're not putting the work in, you're not going to get those results. If you continue along doing the same actions you're doing now, you're always going to get the same results. If you imagine the two of you, Stephen King is the top line and you are the bottom line, and the two of you are running parallel to each other, if you continue doing the same actions as you're doing, is that gap ever going to close? Or are the two of you just going to run off into infinity and that gap isn't going to narrow at all? So think about what it is that your hero does that probably you're not doing. It could be, again, as I said in some episodes, it could be maybe that they are doing things that have the potential to embarrass them, to maybe take steps maybe that are beyond their knowledge, do things that maybe they've never done before and balls it up, and maybe have to repeat the same thing over and over again until they get better at it. So, as I said, you can put your hero up on a pedestal, you can say they have talent, connections, and they had all those lucky breaks, and you can never get to where they are. But the one thing you can do is copy the actions they are doing. Now, usually the people like them usually have maybe a popular blog where they might have maybe some articles, or somebody might have written something about them, or you might find that what they do daily on maybe in an autobiography or something like that. So if you're not too sure what your hero is doing, again, even reach out to them. Some people, you might think, well, such and such a person mightn't want somebody lowly like me or a noob like me reaching out to them. You never know. Some people might welcome a chance to have a conversation with somebody and maybe inspire somebody. So maybe even reach out to them and ask them, what do they do on a daily basis? Or you may find maybe they might have maybe a coaching program or something like that, and maybe you could get into that, and then you could learn the actions that they're doing and then start doing those actions. And when you start doing their actions, you're probably going to get their results rather than you doing your actions and getting your results. So think about that today. The difference between you and your hero is probably the actions that they're taking that you're not taking. And as I said, if the two of you continue along as two parallel straight lines, you're never going to narrow that gap at all if you continue doing what you're doing at the moment. So as always, if you'd like to know where this content is, or you'd like to reach out to me, you can reach me at barryjmcdonald@gmail.com, or if you want to do a search for WriteCome, that's WriteCome.com. You'll find the content all over the web. You can search in Google, iTunes, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. The content is all out there. So as always, thanks for sharing your time with me again today. Take care, have a great day. Bye bye.